Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a hypnosis session created for a client that would have severe anxiety, sometimes leading to panic attacks in social situations that quite often was linked to what's known as an anxiety loop. An anxiety loop is where the thought creates the state that increases the likelihood of the outcome that is the cause of the anxiety. And you can see how that feeds on itself. So in this particular case, the client was worried about being in social situations in case he got so anxious that he had a panic attack, and that panic attack would lead to the negative evaluation or judgment of other people, which was the very thing he was anxious about. And then he would often avoid those situations. So in a situation like that, it's difficult to feel confident because the thing that you're evaluating is the very consequence of the anxiety, but it's based on two key things. One, that the judgment of other people matters, and that secondly, that anxiety or even a panic attack is just a foregone conclusion, that it's a certainty. Once you take the certainty away of the idea of the panic attack or the idea that the judgment will be negative and guaranteed, then that loop can be broken, because actually the key cause of the anxiety isn't the judgment and it isn't the panic attack. It's the evaluation that a panic attack is possible and that would lead to a negative judgment. So in this case, you're going to hear a couple of different things. One, a metaphor that uses football. And in football, it's impossible never to get things wrong, never to make a mistake. Quite often, more shots are missed than are scored. Quite often, high-pressure situations lead to very public failures, and that can lead to judgment. And yet, professional athletes still get up the next day and still train and still get ready for the next game. So that was a useful parallel to say, well, even if judgment happens, it doesn't necessarily mean that it becomes a problem. It's only a problem if you allow it to be a problem. And the second thing is this idea that what real courage is believing that it's better to face a fear than spend a life running. So within this context, you're going to hear a few different direct suggestions, various metaphors, and an intent to create a resourceful state. Because if you are going to face your fear, much better to do it in a resourceful way rather than an anxious way. So there's lots going on in this session. If the idea of reducing your anxiety appeals, there's always the ability to book a free consultation call with me to explore working with me. In the meantime, though, you might find that this session is actually very helpful for you. So find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in a resourceful feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, just get a sense that tension, stress, anxiety is leaving your body in your outward breath. As you breathe in and breathe out, notice that with your eyes relaxed, Feeling the relaxation around your eyelids, eyebrows, around your eyes. And that with your eyes closed, you can pay more attention to the sound of my voice. As you breathe in and breathe out, just get a sense then. As you exhale, that tension is continuing to leave your body, giving you a sense of letting go. I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine a football stadium. And I want you to imagine you're in the crowd and you're seeing two teams walk onto the pitch. I want you to imagine this is a crucial game. The stakes are high. Maybe this is a knockout stage of a tournament. I want you to get a sense that the players on either team, when the stakes are so high, could have a choice as to what they focus on. They could focus on the consequences of not progressing in this tournament. They could have a focus on what if they make a mistake? What if they mess up a pass? What if they miss a free kick or a penalty? And I want you to accept the idea that the emotional state of any one player is a reflection of what they consistently focus on. I want you to think of a player that you like, you know, that messed up, that did something wrong. Perhaps you can even remember what they did that caused some significant problem, a consequence. I want you to get a sense that the very best players aren't afraid of making mistakes. They just aim to learn from them. But I want you to think what would happen if one player made a mistake once, and then because of that mistake, kept thinking about the judgment of thousands of people, and therefore never played a game again, even if they were talented, even if they had all the skills, all the drive. If they never kept playing through the fear of the judgment of other people, wouldn't that be a tragedy? Wouldn't that deprive the team of that talent, that drive, that work ethic? Perhaps that time that you can recall when that player missed or made a mistake, maybe you felt judgment towards them. But at the same time, that judgment didn't actually affect that player. I want you to get a sense that the heroes of our world aren't the cowards that don't do anything through fear of the judgment of other people. The true heroes of the world are willing to move forward knowing that they'll be criticized, they'll be judged, everyone will have an opinion, but they use it for them rather than against them. I want you to imagine that the very best players, they'll use the accolades, the compliments, the medals, the trophies as fuel in their tank to become even more motivated. But equally, sometimes there is more power in the judgment of a catastrophic miss, failure, or mistake. I want you to think back perhaps to Gareth Southgate, a European semi-final, a massive penalty miss, was judged by every person in the UK. But I want you to get a sense that what can make one person run and hide can make another person step up, become more focused, more determined, more resilient. Where focus goes, energy flows. And when you focus on the judgment of others, you're taking the power away from yourself and giving it to people that don't have your best interests at heart. So how do you take that power back? You can take the compliments and the praise and allow it to be fuel. But you want to take the criticism, the judgment, the opinions of others, and make that even stronger fuel. I want you to imagine that whatever game was playing is now finished. You're just there in this stadium all on your own. Floodlights still on. And just imagine that you walk down into the center circle, surrounded by these lights. And I want you to imagine that maybe there's 60, 70, 80,000 chairs all around this stadium. Even if it was filled with people, how does their judgment actually affect you? The most judgmental in life are the people that are the least happy with their own life. Judgment becomes a deflection. When you're laughing or mocking someone else, it's a temporary distraction from the lack of courage in your own life. I want you to decide that, given the choice of running from the judgment of other people or being willing to take the judgment and not be fazed by it, it's an easy choice to make. Breathe in and breathe out and just feel like you're going deeper and deeper relaxed. And I want you to imagine that you're floating back in time to perhaps the first or earliest or one of the earliest panic attacks that you can remember. But you're observing yourself like you're someone else. I want you to see what led up to that panic attack. But I want you to imagine that you can read your mind. You can remember that thought that you had back then. And just observe yourself like you're watching a theatre production of it all happening again in front of you. Not in your body, but seeing yourself like you're someone else. And I want you to realize that what made that so distressing was the lack of preparation, the lack of expectation, the unknown. And I want you to see back then that because it was so unpleasant, that you learnt the wrong lesson. Back then, you thought whatever caused that panic attack was the cause of the panic attack. And it wasn't. The real cause of the panic attack was not what was happening outside of you. It was happening inside of you. Thoughts, beliefs, evaluations, even the way in which you were breathing. But you know better now. And I want you to imagine, with all the knowledge that you have, rewind and replay all the moments that led up to that panic attack, the way you would want to see yourself behaving in that moment. Change your inner dialogue to inner dialogue that you can handle whatever the situation is. Adjust your breathing so that you breathe slower and deeper. Adjust the muscle tension so that you feel and see more relaxed, more comfortable in your skin. That any inner dialogue or thoughts, useful, helpful evaluations, if there's rapid thoughts, one after the other, just slow them down into slow motion so that you can observe yourself, knowing what you now know, handling that same situation very differently. And if you can see yourself doing what you're doing in a way that no longer leads to a panic attack, just let me know by nodding your head. I want you to get a sense that a panic attack is what your body does when it feels it's got no other option, a last resort, the equivalent of a bee sting. Many bees die when they sting, so they only do it if they think they have no other options left. That immediate boost of adrenaline is not good for your body to produce that much adrenaline and dump it so quick. So it's only done in extreme situations. But as you observe yourself, I want you to observe that when it happened that first time, you didn't know what to expect. It felt so distressing that you created coping strategies and belief systems that were designed to keep you safe. But in doing so, it increased the probability of more anxiety as you gave power to variables outside of you rather than your own thoughts, your own breathing, your own actions. I want you to imagine climbing in your own body before it even happened, knowing what you now know, with a different attitude. That if you can live this experience with no fear of a panic attack, with the belief that your resources are sufficient to handle whatever's happening, then if you deal with this one panic attack, you don't need to be afraid of any future panic attacks. Feel like you're in your body in the events leading up to what happened, but feel a powerful feeling of resourcefulness. That could be belief, could be relaxation, could be confidence, inner strength. Feel those resourceful feelings and adjust your body so you have the physiology and the breathing of someone highly resourceful. Notice your inner dialogue. A slow, calm, confident voice. I've got this. I can handle this. Whatever happens, I'm going to be okay. And notice that when you breathe in that slow way, you've got that calm inner dialogue. Even if you feel the anxiety rising up there from your gut coming into your chest, take a deep breath in, and on that outward breath, just feel like it's leaving your body. And notice how differently you can handle that situation when you feel a sense of control, not of the situation around you, but you. That you are still you, even if things around you are outside of your control. I want you to accept the belief. Not only is it fine to make mistakes, it's necessary to make mistakes. There isn't a footballer that plays, that made every pass, that scored every penalty or free kick. Perfection is an illusion. Getting things wrong, making mistakes, is part of the journey. Makes people wiser. Makes people more confident by reflecting on what went wrong so they can learn from it. I want you to get a growing sense that your ability to communicate well to other people is proportionate to how relaxed you feel. As you breathe in and breathe out, just notice that it's easier to feel relaxed when the stakes are low. That's why you can feel relaxed talking to friends, people you know. No fear of judgment, no fear of getting things wrong. I want you to get a sense that you are immune from the fear of judgment from other people. The only judgment you care about is your own judgment. And I want you to judge that you are not afraid. I want you to create two ideas of a future. One future is a future where you avoid anything that causes anxiety. With a perception that that is somehow safer. But I want you to see a different future. A future where your resources meet and exceed the demands. That you feel that either you win or you learn. You're either capable in these situations or you learn something to make you more resilient, mentally tougher. I want you to get a sense that you see a future where you move towards what used to create anxiety, to be free of the anxiety. And if the second future is more desirable, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to walk into that future, step into that identity. There's been times in your life that you did the courageous thing, and by doing the courageous thing, it changed your own perception about yourself as to what you could or couldn't do. I want you to reactivate the courage within you with the deliberate purpose of strengthening your courage. If going to a gym can make your muscles stronger, what can make courage stronger is simply doing the thing you don't think you can do. That's what courage is needed for. To feel the anxiety, feel the fear, and still believe your resources will rise to meet the challenge. And in doing so, most times it does. I want you to accept the suggestion that 99% of fear is an illusion. It doesn't exist. But the only way you can find out what 99% of fear is an illusion is to walk into the illusion. Allow your body to activate the resources necessary to create sufficient courage to walk towards the sources of anxiety, to realize that most of them aren't real. Most of the consequences never happen. That even when bad things happen, you can deal with it. You are infinitely more resilient than you ever realize. That real toughness is being willing to walk into a fight with no guarantee of winning, but believing that it's still the right thing to do. If your unconscious mind accepts new ways of thinking about panic and anxiety in a way that is resourceful and empowering for you, let me know by nodding your head. It's time to leave this place and find yourself there on that football pitch under the floodlights, feeling like something has shifted, something has changed, that you leave this stadium with a different identity, a brave, courageous identity. No fear of making mistakes, no fear of judgment. The only judgment that matters to you is your own judgment. And your own judgment can change simply because you decide to change it. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose as you return to the present, away from these thoughts within thoughts, ideas within ideas, dreams within dreams, fully in the moment. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, get a sense that all parts back in the present, listening to me right now. As I count from 1 to 10 to awaken you, you will feel courage is activated, bravery is activated, and a willingness to walk towards those things you've been running away from. Starting to count 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.